bro to bro, man to man, you need to move out of your hometown, man. You need to leave. The evidence is around us. You know, I'm a success of that, moving out of my hometown. I'm from New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand. I'm now residing in Sydney, Australia. It's quite a common move for anybody living in New Zealand to, they call it, I'm going across a ditch. Sorry, let me just close that. They call it going across the ditch, and that's what I did. You know, I turned 30 last year. Excuse me. Oh no, the year before, I turned 30, 2024. And, you know, me and my partner, we decided to make the move to come to Australia. You know, because we feel like we hit a ceiling in New Zealand, you know, work-wise, personal-wise, just all the wise, you know. I'll go more into that, but we made the move, you know. It was hard, it was difficult, but staying in the same spot, day in and day out, and pretending to be happy was even more difficult, you know. I got some notes here, man. So like, I just want to make this video on why you need to leave your hometown in order to reinvent yourself, in order to grow, in order to become a better version of yourself. But I want to highlight the word reinvent yourself, you know. I believe that you can reinvent yourself. You can become someone different in your hometown, in your same neighborhood. It's just difficult. I've tried it. I feel like the reasons why I failed is because I was just too familiar with my surroundings. I became my environment. You know, that is a normal human law. There's a human law, man. Like, we adapt and become our environment. And I wasn't saying that like I came from like a very dangerous area and I was like, you know, absorbed by the hood and the trenches. Nah, man, I'll be the first one to tell you that that's not my story. My story is, you know, it's different contrast to that, but what I was going through internally just resembled what I saw externally. And I was stuck, you know? I felt like I was going through the same motions, but I had to make the move. I had to leave, and that's what I did, you know? Moving away from NZ to Australia allowed me to expose myself to different faces, places, spaces, tastes, everything, you know, everything that I was given and not given, everything that I adapted to in New Zealand. Like, I broke those chains, you know, I broke those mental chains, and that wouldn't have happened if I, you know, made the move to come here. A lot of people, they like to, you know, overestimate the logistics of moving over. You know, people are like, oh, once I find a job overseas, then I'll make the move, or once I've saved up, and I get it. You know, everyone's got their own reality, and those are very like realistic moves to make. But let me tell you something. This is what worked for me. I didn't have much money moving over to Australia. I didn't really have much money when I got to Australia. What worked for me is making the move first and then following through after. It's easier and more effective for me, and if you can resonate, you know, let me know. But it was more effective for me to make the move first and then figure it out. Let me give you an example. Like, I made the move. I didn't have a job lined up. You know, I didn't have a job lined up when I came to Australia. What I did was we moved here and then I found a job. So I had to plant my feet in this soil and then I made a move. Other people do it the other way around. They fixate over, I need to find a job, I need to find this, I need to find a house. And of course you do. But the way me and my girl did it, we just went all in. As in, like, we found ourselves a crib. This is where I'm living in now. What we did no inspection, no nothing. You know, we just paid up front, paid the deposit, whatever, the bond, whatever. And we're like, look, stuff it. We'll see when we get there. So we just took a gamble. We did it. I took a gamble by coming here with no job. I didn't really have that much money. But I ended up coming here and making more money than I ever did in New Zealand. And I believe I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have achieved that if I didn't make that move. You know, my story back in NZ at the time before coming to Australia, bro, I was down bad. You know, I was down bad. I was out of shape. I was broke. I was smoking weed every day. I didn't have a job. And I was staying at my girl's parents' house. I was staying with their family. So they'll all go out, go to work, and I'll be like a down bad bum, staying home, smoking weed, playing the game, chilling with the dog. And I'm like, nah, man, this ain't my life. This ain't my life. So I had to make that change, you know. It all starts with you. But you gotta take that first leap. I encourage you to take the leap first. Say you did it, even if it didn't work out. Say you can actually say you got the evidence that you actually took the step. And I believe that the universe and God always rewards bravery, you know. It was a brave move coming here with not much, you know. But we did it. It's better for me to say that I came over and I did it than to say, oh, I could have done it, but I didn't because I didn't have my resources in place. You will never be ready. You will never be ready. You just got to make that step. Honestly, let go, let God. Trust the process, trust the universe. That's what I did, and that's what worked for me. Figure it out. Another thing is like leaving people behind. Leaving people and places behind. Yeah, it was tough to leave my friends. Yeah, it was tough to leave my family. But this has got nothing to do with them. This is a personal growth chapter in my life that required me to leave what I was used to, you know? I just feel like this is a sacrifice you have to make, you know? I talk to my grandma every often. I talk to my mom every often. It's a price you pay. It's the price you pay. And it sucks at first. Everything sucks at first. Everything requires a lot of discipline at first just to get over that hump. But once you get over that little hump, man, it becomes better because you adapt, you know. But that's the price you pay. You have to leave the place and the people that you love in order to grow. And I believe if you want maximum growth, if you want to become the person you've never been, you have to do the things you've never done. And that's one scary thing that I had never done in my life. But I wouldn't have done it without my girlfriend, you know. I wouldn't have done it without God. And I wouldn't have done it without the trust. I have to trust the process, man. Another thing is, I'm of course reading from my notes again, but another thing is to get familiar with the unfamiliar. This is me exposing myself to different places and spaces in Sydney, Australia that, you know, we didn't have access to in Auckland. It's a much faster, bigger, crazier city. And I had to adapt. I had to sink or swim. You know, I had to humble myself. You know, I had to come here and I had to pop my ego and be willing to start from level 1. You know, I like to always think life's a video game, and this time I had to start level 1, you know, no continued games. This is level 1, a whole new different game, you know, this Sydney, Australia game. And I had to adapt, man. I had to adapt to the amount of different cultures here, the lifestyle here, just how busy it is. Hey, but this is what I needed. Like I told you, like before I moved here, I was a down bad bum, not doing much of my life. I had a bunch of ideas. I had a bunch of goals. I had some ambition. I just needed to put my money where my mouth is and make that move. And since I made that move, I've ticked off a lot of things. There's still a lot of things I need to and want to accomplish. This has got nothing to do with like materialistic things. I can make another video about that, on how I don't really find that stuff important, but all the internal check boxes, you know, I wouldn't have done it if I didn't move here, to be honest. So even moving here was one game changer. But there's still much more to go. I had to get familiar with the unfamiliar, become uncomfortable in every aspect, you know, of growth. But that's the thing you need, man. We need that always, especially us men. We need to move. We can't be idle for too long. That's how we sink. Or at least that's what happened to me. Gotta keep the ball rolling. Gotta keep the foot on the gas, you know. We need a rest, of course, but for the most part, we need to keep that shit moving. Trusting the process, you know, that's a big factor here, man. Trust the process. You have to trust yourself. You have to believe that it will work out. You know, you can't go into these things half-assed. You can't go to these things with like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I played that game, and you get jack from that. You get nothing from that. 1 foot, 1 in, 1 foot out, 1 foot in. You get no full reward or satisfaction or like completion when you play that game. I was a master at that game, but not anymore. I had to retire from that and fully go all in. I had to go all in with moving here. I had to go all in with finding a job. I had to put my hustle on extra harder, you know? And when us men move with that urgency, backed up with trust, backed up with God, backed up with knowing that we have to make our younger self and older self proud, bro, nothing can stop you. You become unbreakable, shakeable, you know? And it's testing. We have to test ourselves. And moving here was a massive test. You know, leaving my mom, leaving my family, leaving my mates. That wasn't easy at all. That was difficult. But the difficulty of staying and just not being fulfilled and not doing anything with my life leading up to 30 years old. So this was like 28, 29. And then I turned 30 here in Australia. I'm 31 now, I turned 32 this year. And so far, so great, man. I always knew my 30s would be like one of the peaks of my life. I just knew it. Just like how I knew I wouldn't be able to enjoy that peak or grow further if I was staying in the same country. But you gotta take that leap. Reinvent yourself. Yeah, you can do it where you are, but it's better to get yourself out there and expose yourself to life. Expose yourself to the different lives, expose yourself to different people, because that's the only way, that's one of the biggest main ways you can grow. Sorry, but that's one of the most extreme ways you can grow. Get out there, man. Why are you being scared? Book that flight, man. Book that one way. Honestly, you'll thank yourself. If I did it at 30 years old and I'm feeling great, imagine you doing that at 20. Imagine you doing it at 19. Imagine you doing that at 17. Honestly, man, that's the best thing you can do. You'll thank yourself, man. And thank you for watching this video if you're still here. You know, if you enjoy these talks, you know, like, subscribe, comment. I'd love to get to know every one of you. This is my new channel. We're still growing, still pumping out videos. So thank you for your support. Love and peace. It's yours.